I belong to the beloved, have seen the two worlds as one, and that one call to and know, first, last, outer, inner, only that breath, breathing, human being.
The identity of a pilgrim is not an Indian or a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist or a capitalist or a communist or a Gandhian. Identity of a pilgrim is that he is a human being. And when you are a human being, all human beings are your family members, and all other beings on the earth are your family members. Then you can trust. So this is our primary identity, and we have to shed all secondary identities if we want to be pilgrims. I'm a Japanese, I'm an American, I'm an English, I'm an Indian, I'm a Chinese. These are secondary identities. The primary identity of a pilgrim is human being.
Perhaps if we more closely identified ourselves simply as human beings, we would not see the separation and bloodshed that we see the world over, even in the most highly regarded sacred places. But the current human paradigm is built on division, and thus our problems are not isolated to one city in the Middle East, but every part of our society is rotten at its core. This is beginning to show as world economies are collapsing around us.
The unraveling of the financial markets, all based on this invention of a couple of grad students from MIT in the early 90s. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how, in a way, infinitely complex it is, but how simple in its essence. And its essence is simply the idea that mortgages and debt could be insured, so that you could take on more and more debt because you were paying some company to insure your debts so that the debts wouldn't default. So the more confident you were, the more debt you were willing to take on, and suddenly you had, these strange instruments being traded as commodities, which were nothing more or less than the presumption of responsibility for debt. But once you couldn't actually fulfill that responsibility, the whole system unraveled. So this idea that, for example, an insurance company would go into the business of insuring debt as opposed to insuring property or whatever. The problem is that if my house burns down, the insurance company is on the line for one house. But if that company is insuring massive arrays of debt, and the thing starts to unravel, the whole system sort of falls apart. And that seems to be what's happening.
It's not just war in the Middle East. It's not just financial collapse. We live in a fatally flawed system that clearly cannot solve any of the problems that face it, whether politically, religiously, or economically. The riddle is thus compounded. In the face of mounting global problems, the best solutions our current system can produce resound around the idea of cut and reduce, but will it cut it? We're on a failed system program because we're not facing the inner reality of the global disease. Any amount of work attacking symptoms of a deeply rooted problem just continues a battle that cannot be won. Kyoto protocols and economic bailouts do not fix anything. Maybe we need to cut the fix.
And when you look at our society and you say, well, you know, we're at the brinks of destruction, you know, the biological structures, you know, our environment is falling apart, or our society, even our financial structure is falling apart, everything is falling apart. Well, you know, it's falling apart because it's what we've been feeding to the vacuum. We've been feeding to the structure of space, destructive, you know, separative, non-harmonious ways of being. And so the result is that our reality is expressing exactly that. You know, it's falling apart. But all we need to do is actually start to realize, oh, this is not the reality we want to produce, and start to move towards harmony, collaboration, support of each other, and you know, that possibility is present at any moment.
Now, I realize that in working for the outer peace, the most valid way to work is on the inner peace, because every human being who finds inner peace, of course, will bring the world that much closer to the outer peace. In fact, you can work for peace right where you are, in your own surroundings. You can be a peacemaker, of course, wherever you are. And every time you succeed in bringing harmony into any inharmonious situation, right where you are, you have made a contribution to the total peace picture. So I would say you begin working in your own life, and when you have enough peace there, you begin working in your own surroundings. Now, you also need a path of service, something you do to help somebody, because in this world you're given as you give.
It is clear for all to see the truth behind the old expression, you reap what you sow. But how can we really make things better? How can we correct this attitude of no gratitude?
Ecology should come before economy. And if not before, at least ecology and economy should go together, like walking on two legs. If you walk on one leg, just economy, you will be limping. So at the moment, our society, our civilization, our world is limping because we have no understanding of ecology. And therefore, we are creating economy in such a way which is causing mess, causing global warming, causing climate change, causing world hunger, world poverty, all the and a kind of psychological distress and unhappiness. That is because we have disconnected economy from ecology. There is no such thing as an action or a lifestyle without consequence. So the consequence of this lifestyle is to be realized. And the consequence of this lifestyle is tremendous stress on individual life, tremendous pressure, tremendous strain, tremendous psychological upheaval, tremendous pressure on family life, tremendous pressure on relationships. And therefore, if you have cars and computers and televisions and all the other paraphernalia, but no happiness, no relationship, no friendship, no family, then that consequence will be realized and felt. So at this moment, many people are realizing that I have everything and I'm not happy. So how can I create a new life which is simple but elegant? The backbone of human life is good relationship. Good relationship with yourself, good relationship with your fellow human beings, whether it's your beloved person of your life, or your children, or your mother, your father, your neighbors, your friends, and a good relationship with the land, with the animals, with the trees, and the beauty of the place where you. So only through relationship that you can find that sense of fulfillment and joy and happiness. And that consequence of materialistic, acquisitive, consumerist lifestyle that we have, the consequence is gross unhappiness. So if people start to look at the consequences of the lifestyle which we have built in the last 200 years or 300 years, then we will realize that this is not a happy consequence. And therefore we need to redesign the world. And redesigning the world requires a new consciousness. And that new consciousness is based in imagination and based in spirituality. So when people realize that, then I think we can redesign the world in a way which is elegant, which is comfortable, which is beautiful, which is joyful, which is happy. And as you said, we don't need 3 or 4 or 5 planets. We can live on one planet happily.